Good morning, students. The last page, the explanation of the last page of a visit to Cambridge was left. The synopsis of the chapter till where I had taught was that the last question which Firdaus Kanga asks Stephen Hawking over here is that if he gets irritated when somebody comes and visits him and where he has to give him time, irrespective of whether he likes it or not. So we begin with 102 page number, the last paragraph. Every time I shifted in my chair or turned my wrist to watch the time, I wanted to make every one of our 30 minutes count. I felt a huge relief and exhilaration in the possibilities of my body. How little it mattered then that I would never walk or even stand. This was the effect of the presence of that human being on Firdaus Kanga. Only his presence made him feel so blessed. Apart from all his disabilities, he forgot each and every sorrow that he had faced in his life, the difficulties which he had gone through. He just overcame everything. Now let's see page number 103. I told him how he had been an inspiration beyond cliche for me, and surely for others. Did that thought help him? So like if now cliche over the meaning has been given, the idea the idea always if we are good enough for somebody else, we do not give ourselves that particular due credit, saying that yes, we do make a difference for somebody. That kind of an idea, he says, though you are an inspiration for me, does it affect you? Do you know that this particular, that you are my idol, this thought, does it have any advantage for you? No, he said. And I thought how foolish I was to ask. Those who are very grounded, those who do not have that pride element in their lives, definitely don't get carried away by what's happening around them. They live the moment, they live in the moment. They know that something which is there right now may not be available the next minute. So that they don't get carried away by the events happening around them. When your body is claustrophobic, is a claustrophobic room, and the walls are growing narrower day by day, it doesn't do much good to know that there are people outside smiling with admiration to see you breathing still. Now, claustrophobic over here means if you feel that you're running out of breath in a very small, suffocating area, that feeling is called claustrophobic. So because his body was getting weaker and weaker day by day, so he says that even if you are losing on the physical health, there are people who are happy to know that at least you are breathing, you are alive. Is there any advice you can give to the disabled people? Something that might help them make life better? So Firdaus asks him whether is there anything what he would like to say to the disabled people outside which would make them feel blessed. They should concentrate on what they are good at. I think things like the disabled Olympics are a waste of time. Obviously, see, if your limbs are not working and people say just to promote the spirit of the disabled, if you say let's create a sport for you in the Olympics, wherein they're not able to run or do justice to that sport, do you think that part of the Olympics would be useful also for that disabled person? So he was of the opinion that if you're good at something, better do justice to that particular aspect rather than this notion of having different section for the disabled in the Olympics is useless. If you can't walk, if you can't run, you can't run. If you're not good at a sport, you're not. So you need not prove yourselves to something which you're not good at. Rather, work on the principle on which you're very good. I know what you mean. I remembered the years I'd spent trying to play a Spanish guitar considerably larger than I was and how gleefully I had unstringed it one night. So obviously, if you want to do something which you're not good at, just to impress the others outside, it's not going to be fruitful. Till a certain extent, yes, it would help you out, but when you talk about the macro level, at the macro level, it wouldn't be beneficial for them at all. Even the author also says that he also tried playing this Spanish guitar, which was double of his size, and then he says one day, when he knew that he was not good at it, he unstringed it, and he was very happy at that moment. The half an hour was up. I think I have annoyed you enough, I said, grinning. So he had a grin on his face, very happy, with a smile on his face. He said that my half an hour is up, I know that, and I have annoyed you a lot with my questions. Thank you for, as he is about to say this, stay, I waited. So he said, Stephen Hawking told him to wait, so he waited over there. Have some tea. I can show you the garden. The garden was as big as a park, but Stephen Hawking covered every inch, rumbling along in his motorized wheelchair while I dodged to keep out of the way. So because he was on a wheelchair and he was moving here and there, every inch of his garden was covered by him, and he moved from where he left no stone unturned to introduce this person to that particular garden's every inch, nook and corner. So he was dodging from one place to another to avoid any clash with him. They couldn't talk very much. The sun made him silent. The letters on his screen disappearing in the glare. So when you use a gadget in the broad daylight, you see that the screen you can't read much from the screen. So because he couldn't speak, and whatever he had to speak appeared on the computer screen. So because of the daylight, the sunlight, the screen was not showing much. An hour later, we were ready to leave. I didn't know what to do. I could not kiss him or cry. I touched his shoulder and wheeled out into the summer evening. I looked back and knew he was waving, though he wasn't. Watching him, an embodiment of my bravest self, the one I was moving towards, the one that I had believed in for so many years alone, I knew that my journey was over for now. When you see somebody who has been such an inspiration for you throughout your life, you start imagining things about certain people over there. Like when he was moving out, when he knew that his time was up and he moved out, he imagined him to wave, but his body parts weren't moving, so that was not possible for Stephen Hawking to lift up his arm and lift up his hand and wave at him. Though he did expect that he would wave, he knew there was a connection, there was an eternal connection between the two, where he knew that he wanted to do this, but he couldn't because of his physical challenges. And he says, embodiment of my bravest self. Here means, if he has taught me to be brave, he is that sign in my life, that particular, I would say, notion in my life which has kept me going all the way through. So he was the ultimate source of energy, of optimism for me. So he says now that he knew that his journey had come to an end right now, and that he had to part from his idol and move away from there. So that's the explanation of a visit to Cambridge. Solve the question answers. I will be giving you what are the answers of the questions over there, but try to solve them on your own. Tick for yourselves in the text. Read thoroughly the text, because be ready for an exam. If being conducted by the school, it will be conducted in the same form as in Google form test. Thank you, dear.